Whoa, bro. Looking good, man. You working out? You lost weight? Wow. Great suit, by the way. You working out, man? You're looking good. That's a nice suit. What is that? What is that made of? You know, velour? What, a silk robe?
I'm calling from Los Angeles, and I'm having a little problem under the name ThatUmbrellaGuy. I sent him my phone number at least 20 times in the chat and told him to call me. He ignored me, or I'm a man. I filed the report. If you guys could take a look at it and give me a call back, I would love to hear what you guys can do to help us. We really need to kind of stop this guy at least until Monday. I told him to call me, or I'm a man.
Did you see the picture of Jack Murphy's beard as your hat? Did you see that one?
Yeah, whatever.
I'm a man.
That's part of the op, bro.
All right, how's it going? Hey there today. Man, I had to add a last minute adjustment to the live stream. You know, I kept thinking the Eliza Bleu stuff's over, baby. No more of that, right? TimCast's was like, nah, not so much. Fun times, man. Oh, Lord, I swear. Everybody's suing everybody. There are lawsuits going around everywhere. I mean, I like covering lawsuits, but man, things are crazy these days. Still loving the new avatar. Yeah, I love it there. I think it's pretty funny. I didn't use it in the thumbnail, though, because like I said, I mean, when people are like, hey, I'm kind of tired of that subject, I'm right there with you. If this were just some e-grifter going out and trying to pick up clout, that would be one thing, man. But when somebody, actively destroys freaking channels, takes them down, still gets to be centered as a free speech advocate, and has one of the larger platforms out there that's supposed to call out stuff like this, going to bat for them. That goes to bat for them again. This is supposed to be the apology for the Defenga stuff, but it clarifies a couple of things. One of the things it clarifies is that the entire article series was based on listen and believe. I took her at her word. And I was like, all right, well, I'm glad you put that in print at least. What's up, Stacy D? Thank you for the 5 gifted memberships. But I mean, there's Oh, there's so much. There's so much to go over. I don't think we'll get. I wanted to go over the Onision lawsuit today too. I mean, I did a video on it. That is, you know, it brings up some interesting points. There's actually a couple of lawsuits that are going on that are big. There's a lawsuit with Google. I want to read this because it's going to go all the way. It's going to be heard by the Supreme Court. It's called Gonzalez versus Google LLC. It's on the docket, and that could change the entire internet depending on how it goes. If it's actually ruled on, and some of the protections for Section 230 fall, it'll change the whole internet. If you don't understand what that means, what that means is what that means is platforms aren't liable for every single thing that's put on them. That's why you have some restrictions on terms of service, but you could imagine if you were liable for everything that got printed on, say, YouTube, if YouTube was, they would be mired in like unending lawsuits. It would be just unending amounts of lawsuits. Well, that lawsuit challenges those protections really on the internet, period. It's going with Google, but I mean, again, the impact of something, and you have to think the people that makes these decisions, they aren't tech savvy in any way whatsoever. I mean, the the law. A lot of people say the law drifts, a decade behind. I think as far as tech is concerned, it drifts two, at least, or three. I mean, good God. We have so many jacked up rules that are thrown out there. You could see it too, like in specific litigation. Vic Mignogna, for example, the judge there was comparing things that were done on Twitter, calling somebody like a pedo and stuff, to sharing cat pictures on Facebook, because that's the way they understand the internet. It's very behind, and again, they could be making determinations on everything we get to talk about, which is actually a frightening concept. Just like this, a few morons could shut us down. I mean, and it's already bad enough because we got enough morons trying to shut us down. Hey, what's up, Jay, the real McCoy? Thanks for the 5. Sorry I'm late. Who's picking on Rekieta this time? Well, we haven't started yet, but this is part of the Montagraph lawsuit. Actually, the new part of this is that Monograph's lawyers apparently filed an ethics complaint against Rekieta Law. So they've been bad business, period. I mean, they've done some jacked up stuff, but it hasn't been like a professional thing. It's been more like a vindictive thing. And I'm going to play you the clip. Like, Rekieta talks about it. If you haven't heard about that. So Rekieta Law, I did a video on it, but Rekieta Law is being sued by Montagraph. Montagraph, man. I'd put his internet lore into a little box, but man, you can't keep it in a tiny box. There's just so much of it out there. But Monograph, he decided to sue Rekieta. He's been obsessed with Rekieta Law for, I'm going to say, since 2019, when Rekieta Law, I believe that's the right year, since Rekieta talked to Mr. Medicare. Mr. Medicare, he made fun of Monograph at one time. He made fun of him because of just all the jacked up stuff that's out there. I mean, everything from getting your swerve on with a melon to, just a lot of stuff, let's say. And he doesn't like Rekieta very much at all. So Rekieta said a few things about him that I think you could back up with statements on the internet. And yeah, it's gotten it's become its own really weird shit show. And I'm wondering where it's going to go. I'm sure I can laugh about that, but that has to suck. I mean, really, because this is the same day that we had Melanie Mack. Do you all know who Melanie Mack is? The YouTuber? She just put out a video today talking about how, so she's had a guy legitly stalking her for a while. Legitly. I mean, it's fucking creepy. He did videos about it and everything. He was driving like 15 hours because he was going to make her his waifu. And I mean, just crazy stuff. Now, Melanie packs heat, of course. I mean, like many of us, she definitely does. Well, that guy on Valentine's Day, I think that was intentional, by the way. She was served that day because her stalker, this guy who has been stalking her, wanted a protection order against her because she's stalking him. I was like, what? I mean, it just shows you like that's the state of things, man. That's the state of the legal system too, where people can try to financially intimidate you and more. That one will be a good topic too. I need to go over a couple of things with regard to that, and I'll cover Melanie Mac's stuff too. I'll talk about it probably tomorrow more in depth. Fallen Hero, thanks for the 5. How's it going? It is going good today. Hope you're doing great, by the way. Rhea, thanks for the 2. Monty's Melon, give me an eye patch stat. Indeed. So what I want to do is I want to hit this. I want to hit this article revision. Just now, maybe I should go over the Rekieta stuff first, because if I go over the article revision, geez, I keep thinking, well, we'll just hit that article real fast, right? But it's a Shane article, and it's not going to be fast. It never is. So we'll hit the Rekieta statement first. He actually did a stream talking about this stuff. The clip channel, Alyssa Clips, actually clipped part of it. They have their freaking symbol in the corner. They put their it is what it is. It's give me a second. They put a lol cow symbol in the corner. I would clip I'd like just a clip there, but man, anyway, I'm gonna play it from there. It doesn't matter. It's the entire clip, so it's easier than me having to compile the whole damn thing. I just some clips. Anyway, man, clip shows are crazy, dude. I don't even understand what's going on there. Like, I haven't even really looked into it. All I know is apparently there is something going on there. But this lawsuit is an absolute mess, in my opinion. Just because, I mean, for Monograph to go out and to make claims about anyone else, yeah, that's not my symbol in the corner, by the way. I didn't take the locals and turn it to locals. That is not me. Just a note. I'm just covering this off of another place. So I want you to hear what he says about this, though. I actually thought this was pretty enlightening. So, let me turn on.
I'm here to tell you about the complaint that Montagraph's lawyer filed against me. He filed this on January 27th. I've not talked about this complaint because I wanted to file my response before I did. This normally, the complaints that I get, ethics complaints that I get, are dismissed without any investigation. This one required me to at least respond to determine if they want to investigate further. So I have responded now. And so I figured I'd go ahead and talk about it. This is from his attorney, David Schneider. And it's in response to a statement I made on January 18th here on Locals behind a paywall.
Now, that's an interesting thing, right? Because they're watching everything that Rekieta Wall is doing to the point that they're paying for content. They're paying for it. So he put up stuff behind a paywall talking to paid subscribers, and they're paying to see if they can find any more ammunition. I mean, it's amazing. And this isn't, like I said, it's not part of the lawsuit. It is added on. It's not directly part of the lawsuit. It's an ethics complaint. So again, understanding that. And they've already played a little bit of dirty pool. They, if you go back and you look at how they tried to get a default judgment, I mean, essentially what they tried to do right out of the gate was they tried to win on default. They they filed, and there was a timeline for Rekieta Law to file. He wanted an extension on that. He tried to contact them. I mean, he went out of his way, which was provable. He did get an extension, but they wouldn't answer him at all. They basically they went out of their way to make sure that they didn't answer emails, they didn't answer phone calls. They wouldn't make themselves available whatsoever to do that. So right out of the gate, they did that, which, I mean, lawyers, lawyers are lawyers, right? But now ethics complaints. So they're going after him as a lawyer too, which, like I said, that's interesting, right?
Behind a paywall. So one of these streams that we're on right now.
Wasn't clipped out that I've seen.
The statement in question. If you guys remember the timeline of what happened here, on January 13th, Montagraff's lawyer filed for a default judgment against me. And on January 13th, I filed a motion in court for an extension of time to file my answer, because even though I had made a timely request to David Schneider to extend my length of time to answer.
Oh, I want to note something. One other thing too. People were asking me why I haven't been taking all the documentation and just reading it verbatim that comes out with the lawsuit. Well, that's because Monograph has been throwing anyone he can into that, and he's doxing people with it. He's using that shit to dox people. He's taking names that aren't readily available, and he's just throwing them out there for the world to see. Now, that's already publicly available, I understand. So, I'm under no obligation, but I try not to. Again, I wouldn't know that typically. I wouldn't know that at all, with a lawsuit. But some of the people that are involved, yeah, I know who they are. And yeah, that's messed up. That's really messed up. But that's part of it, right? It's part of the op, bro, right? Hey, 2012, thanks for the 5 there. You can reach out for anything legal if you have questions. Y'all, please spam late Valentine's hearts for Little Umbrella Girl. Indeed. She wanted so bad, too, to talk yesterday. And I was like, she wanted to tell you all happy Valentine's. She was sad at the end because, she came down, and I was like, I told her, I was like, you can't be part of this, because it was adult. It wasn't just talking about litigation or anything. It was talking about, the whole blue thing. But she wanted to wish everybody a happy Valentine's Day. She was like, but I really wanted to just tell them happy Valentine's Day. She did. So happy Valentine's Day from Little Umbrella Girl. She's 9, by the way. She loves the mic. Actually, that's the reason you have to be very careful and cautious with the internet anyway, because they love the mic and they love everybody. They think everybody's good-willed and good nature. Oh, that's not the internet. But anyway.
Answer due to the Christmas and New Year holidays, making it hard to retain counsel and actually get a proper answer drafted up to answer the lawsuit in a professional manner. I requested an extension till January 31st, a reasonable request, which should be granted 1,000,000 times out of 1,000,000, because there's no urgency, there's no prejudice to the other party or anything like that. So despite me making that request, he refused to simply answer my phone call, my email, my follow-up phone call, the follow-up phone call to that, my follow-up email, and my follow-up in-person appearance at his office. He refused to answer any of those things. He admitted to refusing to answer those things in his motion, in his affidavit on his motion for dismissal. That was on January 13th. Now, I made a statement on January 18th that his behavior was him being an absolute cunt. Okay? So that's what I said. I said, I don't know why he's being, or something like he's being an absolute cunt about this. And the problem with this, of course, is that was true. That's a true statement. He was being a cunt. I was very surprised by the way that he was acting in the way that he was, because my experience with him is not that of a cunt. My experience with him prior to this lawsuit was that of a professional attorney who engaged openly in communications with opposing counsel and had no trouble actually doing anything. So he filed an ethics complaint about me for saying that he was being an absolute cunt. He basically,
I mean, what the fuck, dude? So they want to suppress the idea that you can call someone to see you next Tuesday on your own time. Holy shit, man. I mean, seriously, I've heard lawyers. I've known plenty in my time, and yeah, they have. That's like, I've also known, what are they called again? Oh yeah, people from the UK. I mean, come on, man, come on. That's like every other word for some folks. Missy, thanks for 3 there, and the super sticker. How's it going? It is going good. I hope it's going good for you too. Nikki, thanks for the 7 months. Still rocking to loving energy, everyone. Thank you. I mean, the internet, like for real. So the people that it's astounding that the very people that again you would hire to protect your free speech and your liberty, they would. I mean, what word would be acceptable there? That makes me wonder what word becomes acceptable to explain someone's actions, Like, I mean, could I say sissy, wimp? I mean, where's the line at, Because you're not obligated to nicety, and you're not in the courtroom. So we're not talking about professional decorum here. So again, where's that line exactly? That's kind of, like I said, fascinating. Tara, thank you. Welcome. Thank you for the membership. Welcome to TimCast's.
This ethics complaint on 3 separate rules of professional conduct. I will go through them with you by memory because I can't pull them up. The first one is Rule 4.4a. But Rule 4.4a of professional conduct is that in the course of representing a client, a lawyer shall not undertake any action which is intended to harass, embarrass, burden, or otherwise infringe upon the rights of third persons. Now, I know what you're thinking. You weren't representing a client. That's true. It's a big problem on that one. I wasn't representing a client. Now, his argument on this is that I was self-represented on January 18th when I made the statement that I was representing myself. Therefore, I am the client. And this isn't really how this works.
This seems like some kind of weird plot with Monty, doesn't it? I mean, it sounds like some just strange, fucking bizarre plot here. You know what we'll do? We'll get some kind of ludicrous lawsuit. And of course, Rekieta, he's going to react like a Rekieta would. He's going to drink and he's going to yell profanity. Then, gotcha, baby, gotcha. We're gonna, it's amazing how many people have come after this man's law license, his ability to practice law. And this isn't some distant firm, by the way. This is a firm within his own town. So, I mean, we're talking about that. That's crazy, isn't it? 2012, thanks for the 5. I'm not goodwill, good nature. If you go after umbrella girls, or the umbrellas, myriad, I guess, Tug, Mug, Lug, and Bug, rackets next, it's wartime. Yeah, I mean, just, this gives me the feeling. See, at first I thought, yeah, it's going to be a cash grab. They're going to try for a default judgment. If it doesn't work, then they would have to redefine their parameters, because Montagraph and money. At the same time, if it goes further, I really would like to know where the funding comes from. I'd like to know who exactly is paying for it, because Monty tells you all the time. He tells you over and over again, he doesn't have a cent to his name. So that means that somebody behind the scenes would definitely have to be funding this. That's not conspiratorial in any way. It's his own words. He said it, what are you going to do? You're going to sue me? I don't have any money. I don't have 2 cents to rub together, or, what is it, a nickel and some shoestring? I don't remember how he said it, but he said over and over again, he doesn't have any money whatsoever. So for him to be able to play the long game is expensive. It's really expensive. Just a matter of fact case gets into the tens of thousands of dollars. A protracted case, you could be talking about what? 200, 300 more. I mean, it's insane, So Rekieta still hasn't gone the war chest route. If he does, man, I've got, see, I've dealt with old Monty, and he's made threats about litigating. I'm going to sue you, because of the weirdest things ever. But he's done this stuff before to people. He's done it before. I mean, he does some of the craziest shit out there. And this, it definitely gets him attention because, Rekieta Law, the people who don't like him. Fascinatingly enough, though, I just try to imagine someone like, say, a Keffels trying to cozy up to a Montagraph. It's just a mind-boggling freaking picture in my, The squid thinks about Monty said he's not even worth a popsicle stick and a shoestring. That's what it was. Thank you for the clarification. I couldn't remember that, which is why he drinks $2. Yeah, he drinks he drinks that cardboard O. Who was it that said that? Who was it? Somebody said that. I can't remember. Was it Mystified? And she was like, "Oh, he's drinking the cardboard O." I was like, "Oh, that's a good name." Yeah. And he eats room temperature shrimp. He does. I've gone over videos. He sat there a whole video. He gave me a lecture video at one time, and he's popping room temperature shrimp up in his mouth, no dip or anything. I was like, ugh. And he's drinking like $3 box, or he's drinking he originally said Walmart wine, but it's actually Aldi's wine, because I'd said that night, I was like, hey, if I get some super chats, dude, I'll go over there and get it. We'll see what happens. And people were like, ha, 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 ha. So I did. I went over to Walmart in the middle of the night, and they don't carry it. I was like, nay, nay, nay on those lies, man. Nay, nay, nay. But anyway.
Pro se representation isn't representation of a client. It is self-representation. But I guess you could make the argument in some way that as a lawyer, even though I'm pro se, I'm bound to the rules of client representation. But we have a little problem here. On January 18th, I was not represented by counsel, or I was not self-represented. I was represented by counsel. I had retained Mark Randazza prior to January 18th. Now, I had filed my motion pro se on January 13th, as my attorney had not made an appearance in the court, before the court at the time, and he would have to be waived in pro hac vice because he is not licensed to practice in Minnesota. He has to get special permission from the court. He would receive that special permission on January 20th. He would file his motion for admission on January 19th. But nonetheless, on January 18th, when I made the statement, I was already represented. Now, it would have been easy for Mr. Schneider to understand that I was represented and figure this all out if he had ever responded to a single goddamn email or phone call that I sent. The guy chose not to engage in communications with the other party in a lawsuit that he had filed. And
isn't that strange, by the way? I mean, it's not going out and following normal protocol here. I mean, it's going out of your way. And he filed this in the court, by the way. He told them, like, oh, well, at one time I was on vacation, I went, but he got back in time to actually respond too. So he filed and told the court essentially, like, yeah, man, I was ignoring that. By the way, Optimus, thank you, man. Thank you for the 5 gifted memberships. Appreciate that. I do indeed. Thank you. Crystal Love, thanks for the 5 months. We love the Umbrella Girls too. Send them all Valentine's love. Indeed. They do. But thank you. Thank you both. Thank you, Optimus, too. It's strange. Like I said, the way that this is played out, it's like a takedown. It is like a takedown, and it's like, you know, I wonder, like, again, the motivation in all of that. You know, it wasn't like Rekieta said, he knew these people from his town. Like, I mean, it's a small place, and he had professional communications. So the way that they went about things actually surprised him, you know, because it wasn't even like professional decorum, one lawyer to the other. It was something incredibly different.
And this is even after I made appearances in the lawsuit. Again, filing on January 13th, I had to appear before the court to make that filing. So he can't use the excuse that, well, I just never answered in any way, which would have been untrue in and of itself. But he just decided to not engage in any communication with me at all. If he had communicated with me, I would have simply communicated that I was represented by counsel, given him the contact information from my counsel, and then he could communicate with Mark rather than with me, which apparently he doesn't want to do. So that's fine. He seems to be communicating with Mark just fine. So importantly,
that's also an interesting thing too. So if he's communicating fine with the counsel that Rekieta Law brought in, but Rekieta Law was representing self, it looks like it is all about, it's again, just like the lawsuit, it's Rekieta Law centered. That's, I know Rekieta has a lot of detractors out there too. It makes you wonder, like I said, you know, things that make you go, right?
He would file this complaint on January 23rd of this year. So by the time he filed the complaint, he knows I was represented because Mark was actually represented. He was admitted into the court again on January 20th. But nonetheless, 4.4a applies to someone acting in the course of representing a client. I was not representing a client. And furthermore, a big problem for him is that my expression of distaste with his behavior does not in any way impact or burden rights. In fact, comment number 1, which talks about 4.4a specifically, really clarifies that the rule is basically written so that someone is not interfering with a privilege like an attorney-client relationship or something like that. Some cognizable right. You have to interfere with a right of the party to violate Rule 4.4a. And you have no right to not be called a cunt. You have no right to not be insulted. You have no right for any of this at all. So that's his first problem right there. Now he goes on to explain that that in 27 years of lawyering, he has never been called a cunt, that he's very open to criticism of his.
So he's very open to criticism. It's just the words. So again, it gets down to, it's fascinating. It gets down to language, semantics. I'm open to criticism, but I'm not open to. It's fascinating because these are the same guidelines that you operate with quite a few, you know, with he's not an officer of the court when I say this, but just think about it this way. Your speech is protected along lines of, you can give a finger to the judge, to the I wouldn't say you should, but you know, you have certain, that would get you in trouble. Like I said, in the middle of a courtroom, you can't do that. But like afterwards, giving the verbal finger to the judge, I mean, we've heard that a million times over. We've heard about how disreputable judges are and this and that, and lawyers. You know, like I said, not in the middle of the courtroom. There's a big difference there. You do that, you have a little bit of a problem there. But I mean, this is something that we supposedly pride ourselves on in our system of governance. We pride ourselves on the ability to speak freely. You know, we're not obligated to nicety. Like, I don't know where in the in the exchange, like in the courtroom, I mean, you're not really obligated to nicety there. Maybe not certain colorful language. I've heard some pretty fascinating stuff listening to courts, though. I've heard judges get on to people for saying some pretty messed up stuff in a courtroom. But it's just this weird assumption that outside, on your own time, doing your own thing, you're obligated to some type of nicety. Well, you know, it's just, I don't know. It seems like a get you in trouble somehow in some way, no matter what. Going to try to go after you, going to try to censure and silence no matter what. I need to see this ethics complaint. I'd really love to see the whining. You know, one of the things, like he's saying, he's not going to read it out. I mean, again, that caused him problems before, but I would love to get my hands on it because I'm under no such burdens. Fun times, baby.
Work, and he is fine with free speech. Totally. He's totally cool with free speech, guys, despite the fact that he's filed frivolous litigation in regards specifically to free speech, despite the fact that he has now filed a complaint directly trying to silence my free speech. Despite all of that, he's totally cool with it. He's good with free speech, y'all.
He loves that free
being
speech.
Called a cunt is a vulgar term that in 27 years he has never been called. Well, welcome to the rice paddy, motherfucker.
Yeah, for real.
You're dealing with a brazen asshole who insults people for a living. But that being said,
that's what I hate that argument too. I hate the argument of I love free speech, but you know, when people add that on there, you always know how that's going to go. Oh, they would defend free speech unless, you know, that's why free speech is not comfortable. Sometimes it's not there to make you comfortable. It's not there to tuck you in at bed at night, put a little sleep hat on you and be like, oh, it's okay, Timmy. It's okay. No, it's not there for that. Free speech is some of the most uncomfortable things you can see. That's why some of the platforms that actually advocate for free speech, they are very uncomfortable places to be sometimes. You know, like Kiwi Farms gets a lot of shit about free speech. I personally, you know, if you want to take someone to task on their behavior, then you can take to task users. But as a platform, they get a lot of crap for that because, again, free speech is ugly sometimes. It doesn't owe you any type of nicety. Like, again, there's this idea where we're supposed to show people respect, right? I mean, it's a lie. People don't do it, but it's a lie that so many people embrace when they can weaponize it. Oh man, you know, whether it's exchanges of profanity, whether it's descriptors, you know, like nowadays pronouns are argued, you know, oh, respect. Well, you don't owe people respect. That's one thing that people don't want to hear. You are not obligated to nicety. You know, you have to play by some rules, like I said, in certain surroundings. But man, I mean, hey, I defend free speech with my life. I'd lay it down unless you call me that. See you next Tuesday, baby.
Stated that I did this on my broadcast, and I did it for the sole purpose of embarrassing or harassing him, which is not true. And this is another part of the problem for him. See, I didn't do this on my main broadcast. I didn't do this on the main show, right? The main show is broadcast to between 10 and 15,000 people on average every night. And the main show will be viewed by between 150 to 250,000 people on average every night. Like once the people watch the replays and stuff like that. That's my main show. I did this on a paywalled locals subscriber only live stream. And on that subscriber only live stream, only 3,243 people as of this or as of the writing of my response had watched that video. So we're talking about a small fraction of the of the general audience was exposed to this. It's not like I was out blasting this lawyer on some public thing. I was venting to a group of my closest supporters what had happened. Was it clipped? Yes, of course it was. It was probably clipped by Montegraph, frankly.
I figure that's who it is. There's actually a couple of other folks too that yeah. That's just, you got the numbers down. Oh yeah, man. You pay attention to those numbers on shows. For like videos these days. I've not been caring about numbers, because again, going off of one case to another video wise, but the live streams, they stay about the same. They pull I don't pull a 15,000, man, but I can pull, 1 to 2. I feel really good with that. I'm proud that many people show up. So yeah, it. I mean, it's there, these are your thing. Of course, and it's just, it fascinates me more that they have someone sitting in watching that much coverage, because if they're going all the way down to locals, like this guy streams all the time, man. So, I mean, really, all you could do is sit around and watch him stream. That's the only thing. To find something like that that's buried in a locals members only broadcast, not only are you paying money, but again, you've got to be sifting through every broadcast, including, I mean, that's unreal in its own way. You're looking for something, hoping that you can add something to litigation or add something to some kind of complaint.
Montegraph is probably watching this show. Hey, Montegraph, stop raping melons, you weirdo. Stop it. Fucking weirdo. What are you doing? The melons didn't do anything to you. Gross. Gross.
You gotta stop for me. That just came out of the blue. What's going to be fascinating is in the scope of this litigation, what you're going to find is the presentation of, like he said, he has one of the things was like he has a bad reputation, right? And other things that were brought up in that. Well, what's really funny is the first time I ever heard a lot of these allegations about Montegraph, I read it in a lawsuit where somebody was defending themselves against Montegraph, going after them with just ridiculous lawsuits. And that's exactly where I read that stuff. So the melon things, I mean, I would have never heard about it at all were it not for him going out and basically bringing this type of litigation in the process. 2012, thanks to my free speech. Y'all, man, forget you, dude. That ain't my speech. Corazola, thank you for the 5. Imagine if Montegraph's lawyer goes to the judge and argues in court, it was a consensual affair with the melon, Your Honor. The melon consented. Well, it's funny, like just some of the stuff that was brought up. It's going to be, like I said, it's going to be fascinating to see how a judge looks at all of this stuff. And it just shows you like how stuffy some of these fucking people are. Like, what's bad is professionals in like the mental health field are less stuffy than and they can be very stuffy, but they're less fucking stuffy than this, like lawyers, man. I mean, you've seen some of the like the money, like the bold, brash lawyers, the ones that come in, the Lincoln lawyer types, you know what I mean? And yeah, I mean, they say some crazy shit, but see you next Tuesday, baby.
Stop being fucking weird. Just go be a normal guy and do your conspiracy shit. People actually like that content. Why don't you go do it? I don't know why. You're obviously retarded. Well, we're going to show them. We're going to show them. Oh, yes, they don't understand how powerful we are. Okay, go for it. Yeah, whatever. You go do that content. You take on the CIA or the FBI or whatever you do, and you'd probably be fine. People eat that shit up. But instead, you go on these weird crusades against people and then try and silence them when they make fun of you. You deserve,
while pretending to be a free speech crusader. That's the thing I never got with all of that. Well, I believe in free speech unless my feels get hurt. Then I mean, this is the same guy that like is obsessed with me to the point he takes Ian Runkle. He takes like a real picture of me and puts me in like skinny jeans and stuff, you know, like he wants to go Brokeback Mountain on me. And hey, baby, I mean, if you need I guess if you need something to think about when you're laying down at night, hey man, you know, just don't print my likeness on a pillow. That's trademark. But no, he gives me that Ian Runkle hair all the time. And I think he sends me suggestive messages. Like he'll put Joe Biden sniffing my hair and stuff. And I'm like, what in the fuck are you doing, man? The same dude. I mean, you know, he puts like long, I mean, really, it's like Ian Runkle's hair. He puts it on my, you know, in picture. I mean, he puts it on there like he's got some kind of, man. And this is the same guy complaining about someone talking shit on the internet. It's like, dude, oh man. Anyway,
deserve to be made fun of. You're retarded. You're an idiot. Okay, anyway. So he's probably in here watching. So, but
he's
that
probably
being
in
said,
here watching. That being said, though,
go out to the public forum and blast Montegraff's lawyer. I was talking to my closest supporters here on Locals and expressing frustration with how he acted. So you've got this issue where he said, I only did that. The only purpose was to harass or burden him. And I didn't harass or burden him. In fact, he would have to go to great lengths to come to the alleged harassment, which puts him in a precarious position under Minnesota law. See, you can't harass someone by talking about them in a place where they're not. Right? Now, imagine, for example, we have a private meeting somewhere. I rent out a little like.
So that's an interesting statement on it. So you can't harass somebody where they're not. You know, Mouse thinks for the 5. My money is on Law and Cucks backing this. If so, it's a bigger fight than Rekieta is expecting. Yeah, I wonder. I mean, he's got detractors, like for sure. He has his detractors. He's made people mad. He laughs at people. I mean, I'm like think about it this way. Me, you hear my humor. Again, my humor, I may have some profanity every now and then. I get a little spice every now and then, but not very often. Most of the time, it's pretty safe and secure. That though, it gets you more haters than you'd ever think. It's just crazy. So yeah, you get it. So for Rekieta law, you've seen that come out of the woodworks, the crazies, the Keffels. I mean, everything. So, I never know. The squid thinks 5. So you're saying Monty is trying to go Brokeback Melon on you? Brokeback Melon. Oh my God. I'm gonna have to get out Monty for that one. Oh Lord. That's hilarious though. Brokeback Melon. What do you say, Monty?
Nay.
God, he is so loud, by the way. Sorry about that. I'm gonna have to sound adjust his ass. He is so loud. God. Brokeback Melon. Oh, let's continue here.
A hall or whatever, and I'm going to give a private speech that you have to pay $5 to come to, right? So people can come and pay $5. And at this speech, I go and I don't invite anybody. Like it's open to whoever wants to come in. They can pay $5 and they can come watch. But I don't send the invite to Mr. Schneider or to Montegraff or anybody else. I don't like say, hey, you need to come see this. This is. I don't send it to their mom. I don't try and notify them to come do anything.
Their mom.
It's just generally open. All right. And then at that thing, I say, well, so-and-so is being an absolute cunt. And that person pays, again, without a specific invitation, they pay to come in and hear that. And they're like, hey, I'm being harassed. How? How are you being harassed? You're not. Under law, you are coming to the conversation. Now, if I were to record that segment and clip it out, and email it to him, mail it to his mom or his like kids or what.
That's what's crazy about that is that's kind of like what Monty actually does. Like he was, with one of the things that he did not like people talking about, he actually talked about doxing judges. I mean, he talked about taking their personal information, going after them, which would be real fun in the courtroom, by the way, if you can work some of that wonderful stuff in. But I mean, he was mailing thousands of emails about someone trying to wreck their life. I mean, he admitted that, and he's done it to multiple people. He hasn't just done it with one person. He's done that to multiple people. Oh, Mystify. Thanks for the 5 gifted memberships too. Thank you for that. I do appreciate it. Thank you. What's up, Ari Jacobs? What's up, Ari? Thanks for the 5 there. This guy going for Nick has a lot of the same energy of another online bully we know. These people seem to be the same MO. Yes, they pretty much are. It's funny because it's really funny. You're talking about like a Taylor Lorenz, right? This is off topic. We just check this out. So Taylor Lorenz now is claiming that she has a disability. Why? Because she had the beer bug. That's right. She had the beer bug and now she's disabled. So it's been blowing up online and people have been just wrecking her for it. I mean, just absolutely wrecking her over that idea, because how insulting does that have to be? Yeah. Seriously. She's been claiming disability because of beer bug. I thought maybe disability because of labeled journalist, but no, disability because of beer bug. Anyway,
whatever, and try and shit on him, that would be harassing behavior. Absolutely. Something I didn't do in any way, didn't ask anybody to do, don't care, don't know if he would ever see that or this. I mean, he might see it, but he'll only see this if he either pays or has someone else pay to come to the conversation. He's not invited. I didn't send him the link. And I frankly don't care if he sees it or not. But right now, he's got a problem. One of two things. He's either completely stupid and has no idea what the First Amendment is, what it means, what harassment law is in Minnesota, or he does know, and he's trying to use the Lawyer's Professional Responsibility Office as a hammer against me to silence my free speech. I think it's probably the second, because I don't think Mr. Schneider's an idiot in regards to the law. I think maybe he may not know what he's doing in the defamation case. In general, I don't think that. But I think he's competent as a lawyer and certainly capable of looking up Minnesota law on harassment. So he should know what he's doing here. And I think he does, which I think makes him a little dishonest.
Yeah.
If I'm being frank on it, and I of course will be frank on this, I think he's being dishonest, and I think it's actually disgraceful to the profession to do so. But what am I? I'm not his mom. But that's the first rule. He actually cites 3 total rules. That's the first rule. But again, this comes to the problem of I'm not representing anybody on January 18th, not even myself at that time, and so that rule should fail automatically. And second, I didn't do anything to embarrass, burden, harass, or delay him, or to infringe in any way upon his rights. You do not have a right to not be called a cunt. Doesn't exist. There's no right. I can't come into your house and do it. I can't come into your workplace and shout at you. I can't call you repeatedly. I can't fax you over and over. I can't spam your email with you're a cunt, you're a cunt, you're a cunt. I can't do any of that stuff, which of course I didn't do. But me simply expressing an opinion about you in a semi-private way to people, it would be akin to me standing around with some coworkers somewhere and just going, you know what, that guy's a cunt. And then someone saying, hey, do you know what? He called you a cunt. He's like, he's harassing me. How?
Yeah. Well, how? Look at these days. I mean, everything. It's just amazing to see lawyers fucking Scooby Dragon. Hey, thank you. Welcome. Thank you for the membership. Welcome to Tugs Thugs. And Steve, I saw this come through, made me laugh. Thanks for the 10 Tug. Don't put your pickle anywhere near Monty's melons. Words to live by, baby. Words to live by.
How without someone going and telling you, you would have never known it happened. It's not harassment. How does that harass or annoy you in any way? So the second rule, second alleged violation that he cites is the bane of the ABA model rules. It's rule 8.4G. Brace yourselves for this one, ladies and gentlemen. 8.4G is a rule that prohibits a lawyer from harassment based on age, race, gender, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, national origin, ethnicity, whatever, religion, all of those things. He claims that by me calling him, first of all, I didn't call him a cunt. I said he was being an absolute cunt, which is not who someone is, but how they're behaving. I think there is a distinction. If I say you are a fucker, or if I say you're acting like a fucker, I think those are two different things. But maybe not. Maybe there's no distinction there. I think there is. I think saying someone is a piece of shit is different than they're acting like a piece of shit. But okay, so but to be clear, I said he was being an absolute cunt. But I want to know how in any way me calling a man a cunt one way or another is discrimination based off of gender.
How is it?
Or sexual orientation.
Can someone explain that?
Or marital status. Because he cited gender and marital status. I'm not joking. I'm not kidding. Apparently cunts can't be married, which we know that's not true because I'm married. So I'm obviously a cunt. Like I know that. So I'm trying to figure out how that would be some sort of harassment based on gender or marital status. Now, in a way, I could actually see if you like were to.
That is a bizarre argument to me. You know, I mean, I don't know about you, but that is a bizarre argument to me. You know, I'm a protected class. You can't call me that. See you next Tuesday, baby. You know, be like, okay. How does that, okay. If you were going to try the slur, saying it's a slur, I mean, I'm trying to figure out how you make that work for a man. You know, I mean, sheesh. Yeah. That's why maybe he needs to go look in the mirror for a second.
Or I'm a man.
Exactly. Suzanne, thanks for the 2 there. Melon goes into a bar and cozies up to a waffle. Oh no. Oh no. Oh my gosh, though. I tell you, like I don't even process that one.
To repeatedly utilize cunt towards a woman, that could be sexual harassment in the particular context where like sexual harassment would apply. I guess you could maybe get there. For example, in a workplace, if you're in a workplace and you're calling someone a cunt constantly, that would probably violate a woman specifically, that would probably violate a sexual harassment policy in the United States. Whether it should or not is a different question. Whether it would, I think you'd get in trouble for sexual harassment if you repeatedly called particularly women cunts. You'd be discriminating and calling them a derogatory slang that's often directed at females. That's how you would get there. Okay. But we're not in a workplace environment. We're not under some employment contract or agreement. We don't have an employee handbook between the two. I don't owe him any duty to treat him with any particular dignity or indignity in any way. So 8.4G is a problem. First of all, 8.4G is problematic in and of itself. 8.4G, well, we actually had another rule. The comment 5 on rule 8.4, which pertains to 8.4G and 8.4H, which we'll get to next. Comment 5 specifically says that 8.4G is within the scope of representation. So again, while representing a client, somehow in litigation, all of this is related to my protected First Amendment activity of broadcasting a show as somewhat of a shock jock who engages in, according to their own lawsuit, hyperbole and comedy and is often vulgar. That is not the representation of a client. In no way, when I'm talking to my locals, am I representing a client, even if I was pro se, even if I was self-representing at the time, which again, on the timeline I wasn't, but even if I...
When is the court case? Someone asked. It is, there are filings going on right now. I mean, you had your initial filings, you have your answering back. I mean, you're going back and forth, and you have to decide. We don't know what will be decided about that going forward. We don't know exactly like how this will play out. So it's all going on now, but as far as in the courtroom, we're not there yet. We're in that filing stage. So I mean, we are in the court, but you know what I mean. That's the thing. That's the thing about justice, and that's the thing about injustice within the court system. It takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of time just to get to the point of whether or not it'll happen. Now, Rekieta has one issue like I wouldn't have. It's called anti-slap. Here, we have very stringent anti-slap laws. They're free speech laws. They're supposed to be, they're a double-edged sword too. Me having a show here, I would be protected in saying quite a few things because of anti-slap policies or statutes. He doesn't have those protections. Like I said, it's a double-edged sword. In Texas, for example, with the Vic Mignogna lawsuit, he didn't get to face his accusers. They were calling him, they were calling him things like a pedophile. They were damaging him, and they still called that free speech, which was fascinating to me. But actual free speech, again, like calling somebody a "see you next Tuesday," yeah, he'd get that tossed fairly. It would still cost money, but it would be fairly quick,
I was doing that. Me talking to locals, me doing a live stream, me talking to YouTube or Rumble are not in the scope of representation. That is just me doing a show. That is me doing a production, a broadcast. That's the first problem. Second, none of this is harassment. And third, it's not based on gender. It's not based on marital status. That's just a frankly idiotic take.
How does that even work, though? Can somebody tell me? I mean, for real, there are lawyers that watch and stuff. How is this working into marital status? I don't get it. Like, how is calling a dude that? How does that pertain to marital status? I do not get it. What's up, Gabriel? How you doing? Thanks for the 5 there. I can't stop picturing the Breaking Bad edit with you and Nick Rekieta and the pile of money. No, I love that freaking. It's funny. 2012. Thanks for the 2 there, Tug. Check your DM. I saw you were in Texas and Pick too. I'll have to check it. All right.
Again, I don't know how calling anybody a cunt could feasibly be impugning a marital status in any way. But I do have to give him some praise. He did make me laugh in his comment. All right. And this is the main reason I wanted to bring it up, because I wanted to get his quote just right. But I'm going to have to go off of memory on this one. This is good. He got me on this one. He said, he doesn't know if me identify as homosexual or transvestite, but because I used a slur of a sexual nature and he is a man, I must identify as gay or transvestite.
Wait, what? Fuck. Yeah. So he used the filing to say that He used it to basically be like, "Yo, you're either gay or trans." What? What is it? Is that an insult too? Is that supposed to be? I mean, maybe in like little Minnesota there, it might be an insult. Oh my God, you're so trans. And like, what does that even mean? That's not an insult. Come on, man. Oh Lord.
Which I don't know how that follows, but it's funny. It's so that was good. That was good. He got me there. Total fake. So hats off, Schneider. I know you'll see this one, and look. That was good. That's how you got to do it. That's how you got to do it. But you shouldn't have done it. You shouldn't have done it in an ethics complaint. That was retarded. Doing it would have been funny. You should have just sent it to me. Been like, "Are you gay? Are you hitting on me for calling me a cunt?" Because cunt is a sexually oriented insult, which it isn't.
Or trans.
I mean, that was a weird thing. He used dictionary.com to define cunt, and then stated that since it was sex.
Oh, he's like, "Oh, well, you got a crush on me. You want to make sweet love to me." Well, sorry right now. If you leave your name, number, and a brief message, we'll tell you what patch of melons that Monograph and myself are currently visiting. Beep. Yeah, it's like, yeah, they ain't down with that. Oh, Cynic in Chief. What's up? Thanks for the 10. I didn't have a Valentine yesterday. If Lug and or Bug wanted to be a belated Valentine, use this to get them some chocolate for me. Well, I appreciate that for sure. She was giving me pictures for Valentines and stuff. And, they were cute, making their art projects and stuff. Thank you, Cynic in Chief.
Sexual in nature. That's how he did it. But I mean, at least he got there, and it was cool. It was cool. So I thought that was actually funny. I do want to point out that, interestingly enough, if something were to violate the rule against sexual orientation based discrimination, what he said is much more likely to violate the rule than what I said. Right? Now, he did it within a complaint, so it's protected speech, I guess. But the fact that
wait, so could I call you a "see you next Tuesday" in a complaint? I'd be like, "This "see you next Tuesday" called me a "see you next Tuesday," and I want them censured. Yeah, wait, a what now? That's beautiful. I love it. I love it.
He suggested that I must be gay because I used the word cunt would be discriminatory by nature. So it's kind of weird on that one. But whatever. I mean, I guess. So that's 8.4G. Again, not representing a client. So 8.4G doesn't apply according to comment number 5.
I had another thought on this. Just, hear me out here. So we were talking about, could this also be representative of having a lackluster case? Trying to show your client a win and somehow, to make them feel like, hey, the money that they actually spent, it went to a good purpose, because maybe you can't win in the case, but at least you got the man censured, right? Wasted his time with ethics complaints and more. I mean, he had to answer it. He had to go out and spend time there. So maybe that shows his client, and I don't know, man. It's just such a bizarre thing.
5. Also, not harassing behavior for the reasons described above, and certainly not based on gender, sexual orientation, or marital status, or race, creed, national origin, religion, any of those things. Age. Well, I may be a bit of a boomer. I wasn't discriminating against him on that. 8.4H is even the weakest one of the 3. And that's saying something, because the first 2 are really weak. But 8.4H requires you to do engage in activity that's prohibited by statute or local ordinance. So there isn't a law against calling someone a cunt. So if there isn't a law against it, if it doesn't violate an
Do you think there's a law against getting down on a melon and videotaping it? Well, I mean, just saying. Is there a law against putting up simulated snuff films? I mean, I just wonder, when we talk about their client. Rhea, thanks for the 2. I have to slay it slow. Cantaloupe. Yeah, exactly. That's funny. I mean, really, what's more, I don't know, getting frisky in the melon patch or or a word.
actual law, then 8.4H just simply doesn't apply. But 8.4H does apply outside of the representation of a client. So you could, in theory, if you violate a law that exists, and this is typically related to that harassment and discrimination, same stuff.
Yeah, so he's trying to go with the
as
harassment.
8.4G, but it would be
He's trying to say that he engaged in harassment, which is against the law, by calling him a name, by calling him a name not to his face, indirectly calling him a name. That's harassment indirectly, and not and it's not a damage or defaming name either. It didn't call him like a child enthusiast or something. He didn't call him a pedophile or whatever. He called him something that, again, if you listen to many people from the UK, yeah, they say quite a bit.
Violative of a local statute or ordinance. So since there isn't a law against calling someone a cunt, that one should just fail outright. But I sent a very long response today to the Professional Responsibility Office, and hopefully they can just go ahead and put this to bed. Obviously, this is a frivolous complaint. It's a frivolous complaint aimed at silencing my speech, the same way that his frivolous bullshit lawsuit is aimed at silencing my speech. Montegraph had also previously filed an ethics complaint and failed to silence my speech using the Lawyer's Professional Responsibility Office.
Couldn't you file that as harassment? Couldn't you say that this repeated attempt to try to take away his law license was actually some kind of harassment attempt? Because they've tried and they failed, so they're trying yet again. I mean, that's I don't know. I mean,
Montegraph has filed several vexatious, frivolous lawsuits against people to try and silence their First Amendment speech. He tends to not win those lawsuits. In fact, one of them, Morphinos, is how I learned. I think Jake Morphinos is his name. It's how I learned about Montegraph in the first place. I was on a stream with Jim.
Yeah, Mr. Medicare.
29th of 2019.
You can find that lawsuit. I mean, you can find that stream, by the way. It is very interesting. And that's actually, I had not heard of Montegraph. Again, the way I heard about Montegraph is he called my phone. And I didn't, he sounded like he went, I guess he was trying to say my name, but again, he sounded like a first-time scammer because he sounded nervous. You ever been to like Walmart or somewhere where like Girl Scouts are selling cookies and you can tell like somebody's a first-time person like trying to do that. They're really nervous. He sounded like a really, really nervous Girl Scout. In fact, I thought he called me Lewis. So I was like, hung up on him. He called from a restricted number too. He didn't call from I could call you back number. He called from a restricted number. So I hung up on it. When it tried to call again, I'm assuming, I couldn't tell you if it was the same one, but a restricted number tried to call back relatively soon. I hung up again. I wouldn't have known anything about it, but he put together like an hour plus video. At first telling me I was rude. He had no problem with me or anyone. And then by the end of it, it was just out and out threats. And, oh my God, you people, if you don't call out Rekieta law, then oh, how dare you? And again, this has been going on since 2019. They've had their back and forths apparently, which is fine. I mean, both of them could monetize those, but apparently, it'll be, like I said, it'll be fascinating when Montegraff's history from that lawsuit itself. You can find the filing on it. In fact, when you look Montegraff lawsuit up, it pops up in the Wayback Machine. So you can find it pretty easily. That's how I heard about all the lore. And the lore, oh man, all the stuff he said about it. Oh yeah, it's in that specific litigation, in that filing. If it's the one I'm thinking about, it's right there. It's spelled out. Map hanger, cartography again. What's up? Thanks for the 5. How do you know that Monty has been in your house? Someone has drunk your Windex, eaten the contents of your bin, and your watermelon is pregnant. I was like, I ordered this seedless. My watermelon's supposed to be seedless. Gross. Nay.
Mr. Medicare, I was on his live stream, and he was explaining to me the Jake Morfino's lawsuit against Montegraff. And he was asking me various questions, and I talked about it. This is how I learned about him in the first place. He filed a frivolous lawsuit against Jake Morfino's for defamation, the same thing. Monty has a little history of this.
Miss, that's what that matters. If you're referring to the prior litigation, it's because it covers all of the statements that Rekieta law made. You find in that. So he's not just coming out and saying just some random thing. Like if I said, oh, Monty made love to a melon, I'm not just making up something out of the clear blue. This is something that not only has been well established in the lore of Montegraff, but it is even filed in court paperwork. So it is documented there. So again, it's going to be hard to say, like he has a good reputation. Oh, yeah, it's going to be hard to say that when again you look up some of the some of the stuff there. I've gone through it before. It's not very pleasant or flattering. Also, one of the things was that he made a snuff film, and he in the early days of Monograph. This was in the early days of YouTube. He made videos that, I mean, for real, like people thought they were real snuff films. Back in the day on YouTube, you could do all kinds of stuff. And I knew of the video, but I didn't know of the person that made it. But I remember the controversy behind it because even the FBI got involved. They thought that this guy was making snuff films. And one of those films apparently was questionable enough that I guess it didn't get a release from what I understand. So, anyway.
Problem. Now, Jim had done a previous live stream on the 26th of June, 2019. You can find these live streams. They are still archived out there, but they're not on Jim's channel. But yeah, so you can go find out about this stuff. It's where I first learned about Montegraff, and then I would be contacted by Montegraff a couple days after that. That's where the saga began. I do want to point out that to Dave Schneider, if you're still watching this, if you ever happen to see it, in mid-December of 2019, Montegraff threatened to come to my house and visit me in person without being invited. Your client has a history of stalking and threatening people, stalking digitally, and then threatening to do things to them physically in person. He threatened also to release my docs information, which he clearly was lying about having, because you still sent the lawsuit to the wrong address initially. You still had the wrong address for me. So Montegraff clearly didn't have my information that he claimed to have, which is sad because he was probably going to harass like just a decent family at a different address. But that's what your client does, Dave. You should know that.
Could you imagine like Monty like showing up at your door thinking that Rekieta lives there? Oh my Lord. Amanda, thanks for 3 months. Tug, why'd Monty hit it and quit it? Because he cantaloupe. No.
And you should also probably watch out because your client will probably be mad if you don't win this lawsuit. And I would strongly suggest that you steel yourself against this client, because he has a history of being a fucking idiot. You'd know this if you'd done any research into this client, which you don't have any duty to do so. And you, of course, can go ahead and represent him zealously, as you expect to do. That's your job, and Monty
Indeed.
deserves representation. Don't ever let me suggest that he doesn't, or that you shouldn't.
Yeah, but the issue is frivolous lawsuits. I mean, yes, you can take money from a sucker, but still, we're going to that idea of harassment and complaints and harassment. Well, which is harassment? Calling you a see you next Tuesday, or repeatedly harassing people with erroneous litigation.
Represent him, but I just want you to know what you're getting into. You maybe should have checked in on this guy. And when you filed the lawsuit, I would hope that you realized the pitfalls of your lawsuit, because what I've said about Montegraph is largely true. And if you don't think it's true, it was probably an obvious joke. But the melon thing happened on camera.
It did. It did.
And his little snuff film that he's very proud of, The Umbrella Man.
Yeah. He threatened to sue me. It's The Umbrella Man, by the way. He threatened to sue me over that. He was like, yeah, for his snuff film. Like, he's saying he didn't have a snuff film. He is so proud of that thing that, like I said, he was threatening to sue me. He was like, oh, you're trespassing on my name there. And I thought that was really funny, just because, I don't refer to myself as that. That was a statement by a lawyer in the Deb case. She kept calling me stuff like that. Myself, I'm pretty clear about who I am.
I call it a snuff film. Did he actually kill a kid in the video? No, I don't think I ever alleged that, by the way. But I'm pretty sure that's what he's supposed to be. Anyway, the Umbrella Man, that whole thing, that's, that shit that he did. And it's not hard to find this shit. And
No.
the only reason I said all of the things that I said about Montegraph is because that's what I've read about Montegraph. These complaints have been around for a decade. The guy's a weirdo. So you've got some pitfalls there, but more importantly, you have on your hands a nut job. And I hope he paid his retainer, because I don't think he has any money. So
That's what I'm wondering. Like I said, if he continues litigation, how exactly? I mean, I don't see you taking this on like contingency, saying, yeah, unless you got really butthurt about see you next Tuesday or something, and you were like, ooh, gonna take that dude down. How dare he call me something spicy? I'm not really sure of that. Robert Rivera, thanks for the litigiousness in this BS suit. What we'll do as this rolls forward, I will go through. I mean, the lawsuit is there, with the documentation, it's there. I did go over one part of it, but right now we're not really into the oomph yet. When we get there, I will have to, like I said, go through, make sure that his attempts, he's not just going after. If you listen to the original complaint, he didn't just go after Rekieta. He went after anyone that's hosted him. I mean, he's been after for a while now. He's been after people like Megan Fox, for example. He's mad at her because she streams with him. He decided to go and troll them, to try to get a response. This is what he does in his in streams too. He will go to a stream. He will try to get somebody to react, And then after the reaction, he will threaten litigation. I mean, it's pretty jacked up. I mean, when you really think about that, you can look up though if you if you're curious what's being discussed here too. About the reputational thing. You can actually find Montegraph on IMDb. He actually has a listing. The listing there, it's for Little Piggy and the Umbrella Man. It's got a Montegraph. He actually has a little area for him, and the descriptors for his videos are not, let's just say they aren't very flattering. So him getting mad about that stuff. I'll pull up that I don't want to go through all that lawsuit, but I'll pull up just a piece of it just to show you again, the stuff that's claimed is not, it's not just made up wording. It's not like he went out just to casually defame the man. I mean, he quoted things that were out there already in the public space.
I have filed my response. I have informed the Professional Responsibility Office of the obvious frivolous nature of what's going on here with Dave Schneider's complaint, with Montegraph's lawsuit, with Montegraph's prior complaint. There is
It really is
yeah, there's no merit to any of it. He knows there's no merit to any of it, and he's attempting to use it to suppress the First Amendment because that's what he wants to do.
That's how he works.
I don't know why Mr. Schneider has a problem with the First Amendment, but I will vigorously and unapologetically defend my right to use the First Amendment to the fullest extent that I choose. And the cool thing about the Lawyer's Professional Responsibility Office is it is an agent of the state, so the First Amendment definitely applies, and lawyers don't forfeit their First Amendment rights to do anything. We have the full protection of speech. Actually, in our employment, we actually probably have more speech protection than most people do because our managing entity is a government body. It's not a private board. It's not some non-government entity that self-polices or self-regulates. It's literally the state. So the state has to punish you for speech. And if the state tries to punish me for speech through the Professional Responsibility Board, especially protected speech that's done on a broadcast, then the state, as I said before, when they pulled the same shit last time, as I said before.
So he was mentioning the Morphinos lawsuit, and that's exactly what I was thinking about. So I had to look. So that, again, not spending a lot of time on it, but the things that this came from the Wayback Machine. All right. So it was there. I mean, you could find it rather easily. And all of the stuff, again, that he's claimed, it has been spelled out in litigation. Snake Plushkin. I love that name, by the way. I always love it. Snake Plush Kitten and things for the 5. I hope this goes to trial. And it shows clips of Guy Ritchie's The Gentleman. That would be hilarious. I just want to see the melon pictures like pop back up, because again, I mean, there's a lot of stuff in here you can see, but my favorite picture out of all of it, is that picture. I mean, look at the melon. Like look how disturbed the melon looks. It's missing an eyeball, and it's like, nay, 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 nay. This is so when he's saying all of that, again, this is from his own litigation. He brought it against somebody because he got mad about what they had to say. So they brought up like him getting down on his melon. These are our safe for YouTube pictures though. But I mean, there's a lot of stuff. Like there's a lot in this filing, and all of the things, that were noted, the accusations of being a child enthusiast. I mean, they were noted in this. They were noted in background, the snuff film that was actually, noted in this too. It's described. It's laid out. It's laid out very well in here. So again, for him to claim that this was, just made up on the fly. Yeah, no, that this was something that those pieces of it, yeah, it's going to be very difficult to go with, I think.
I'm willing to fight the state on this as much as I need to do. I would prefer not to, because I'd prefer they just go with the obvious solution, which is to uphold the First Amendment that they are bound to, that we all took an oath to protect. But if they decide to come after me on it, then obviously I will just go ahead and fight with them to the fullest extent necessary. But I don't think that's going to be necessary at all, personally. These frivolous complaints happen all the time. And I think the only reason that they're even looking into it in the first place is just because I happen to have an existing lawsuit. And Mr. Schneider wrote it in a way to suggest that I was representing someone, even if it was myself. And again, he was mistaken on those facts. And that can be proven pretty easily. And he would have known that if he had just engaged in the basic professional courtesy of responding to the opposing party when they reached out multiple
professional
times.
What again?
But so there you guys go. There's an update on what happened with regards to my current ethics complaint. We'll see. I'm out here breaking ground on Minnesota professional ethics as a professional ethics tester.
Yeah, pretty much.
By the government.
He's actually been breaking ground for a while now on that. He's one of the most, we have seen people go through harassment campaigns, but for real, like the Keffels thing, for example, they had a mass writing campaign where they tried to use ethics complaints to take away a man's ability to have a career. I mean, that's where that whole rabbit hole came from. That's where Rumble actually came into the picture and everything else. I mean, it was insane. But we've seen this repeated because it's just it's the first thing that people try to do. They try to go after whatever is near and dear to you. They go after anything that's within that personal sphere, whether it's occupation, whether it's family, whether it's channel, anything that will do immediate harm. They also try to do reputational harm with all kinds of just insanity. It's so unreal. But anyway, so you get that update. Now, I would suggest if you want full updates on how that thing travels forward, you go and subscribe to Locals, keep up with everything that goes on with him, right there in the moment. Because again, it's all happening in the moment. And one of the weird things about that, unlike any other type of case, you have a person that is in the litigation that is walking you through it. So it's a fascinating thing. I don't know if I've ever seen anything like it. Now, the other thing that I wanted to talk about is the attempted avoidance of litigation, and that is from Shane Cashman today. See, if you've been keeping up with the insane Eliza Bleu stuff, and again, I thought this was pretty much over, right? And what I mean by over, I'm talking about from them. I thought they had pulled themselves out of it. It is not over. The Eliza Bleu thing may have run its course because they don't want to hear it. But you know what? People are still banned. You've had no fixes whatsoever on any of these platforms. And it's this pretend that it just somehow concluded itself is not real. This would be something that if someone like a Taylor Lorenz did that, this would be big news, and it would have stayed big news. Everything they did would have stayed. You would have had article cycles and everything. And that's the strange thing about it. But in the process of doing this, we had, of course, TimCast's decided they had an embedded writer with her They were going to do a puff piece on her, and they decided in the moment to change up their puff piece to basically to go after detractors. In part 2, again, just giving high points. They called people leeches, tumors, and more. And in part 3, that's what made this thing. It actually got the whole thing pulled down. It's all archived if you missed it. But it called Manuel DeFango, it called him the worst things in the world. It said that, it came up with these insane conspiracies. And they chose a person, in my opinion, like DeFango, because they figured, probably correctly, that he would have trouble mounting litigation against them. They still, though, I think were afraid of litigation, because that's why they pulled Shane Cashman's own statements. That's why they pulled it, not because of Eliza Bleu, which he goes back and sims a million times in this. Nope, it's because they decided, again, when they went after DeFango, they said, he was part of groups that they got black vans. They injected things in people's necks. They drove them insane. He'd seen pictures of that, by the way, and just crazier shit. Just absolutely insane stuff. So he decided, that they were afraid of litigation, because he decided he would interview DeFango. And he uses this as a puff piece for Eliza Bleu. It's unreal. It is unreal. He doesn't really apologize for what he did either. You look at it and you give me your opinion. And again, DeFango is not wrong in anything he does. It is his thing. He was the one that had someone aim at him. They tried to wreck his life, though. They hoped they could do it. Yeah. So let's look at this thing, though, because like I said, it's absolutely unreal. Hey, Cece, thank you. Welcome. Thank you for the membership. Welcome to Tugs Thugs. Dreadnought, too. Thanks for the 5 there. Wilson the Melon tried to say nay, but Monty validated anyway. Now, poor Wilson is eternally shocked. Remember, kids, nay means nay. Again, nay means nay, baby. Nay means nay. And Allie, too. Thanks for the 2. If this goes to court, will his girlfriend, Melanie, go? That'll be the one person sitting on his side supporting him. He'll be like, I'm going to check in I got to carry my girlfriend, Melanie, in. Oh, my goodness. So this is what it's titled. This is the title of it. After the publication of the 3rd segment of the Eliza Bleu series, Shane Cashman contacted Manuel Alves, a name who had been reported as a one-time affiliate of a now-defunct public relations company. He didn't say that shit. He said part of a PR company, but he said a lot of other things. Like, again, it is unreal. It is fucking unreal how he played down what he did, because there's no public record of it anymore. They scrubbed it, right? It's not easily accessible by the public. He has clarified his distance from the company and said he does not employ the tactics that have been previously reported on. So again, Shane isn't, just look at the way this is put together. So the company in question offered the normal services of a PR company, but extended it to reputation management tracking by creating positive and negative social media campaigns. They would buy positive articles, posting, and accounts to promote people, but would also engage in negative campaigns against a target if the client requested it. Chavez says that they were essentially a group of LARPers trying to copy the model of Black Cube and Redacted. Chavez said he began associating with people close to this company after delving into intricate, popular online puzzles and gaining some attention by allegedly solving them. He look at the way it's worded. Oh, he allegedly solved puzzles. He won't even give him the puzzle solving. Oh, shit. He interacted with the people he believed created the puzzles, and according to them, felt like he'd eventually taken hostage by their hopium. Chavez says that he spent years trying to expose the wrongdoings of people in that circle, but keeps being lumped in with them despite the efforts. He told Shane Cashman that he told Shane Cashman, wait, we're not We're no longer going with gonzo reporting. We're going to refer to ourselves as a name now. Interesting that he ended up getting a restraining order against some of the people he used to interact with, and that he ultimately moved to another state to escape the danger that he believed they posed to him. He provided TimCast's news with copies of the order. So here, this is the difference. He says, in this stuff, he's going to say, well, I'm going to take you at your word like I took Eliza. And it's like, the difference here is somebody's providing you documentation, asshole. And the things that you accuse them of go well beyond being part of a PR firm. You're saying, again, injecting things into people. You said that they put together a conspiracy to either take down Elon Musk or to take down Twitter or to take down everyone in these spaces, essentially. And you told everyone to distance themselves because they couldn't be trusted. You went out of your way to destroy him. The following interview is directly from the conversation between Cashman and Chavez after the release of Part 3. TimCast's news cannot independently verify many of the claims made by the subject at this time, but we've decided to present the discussion as it occurred for transparency. So look at this shit. They will listen and believe fucking Eliza Bleu, but they will put a disclaimer when it comes to DeFango. Like I said, it's fucking unreal when you get down to it. Again, puff piece for that person that they have piles of stuff out there in their own words that you can show that there's problems. But you got to get a disclaimer on the person that you wrote a fucking hit job on because you knew they would sue you. I would fucking sue you so hard, man. I would. Oh, man. I would sue you so fast it'd make your fucking eyes water. You'd be like, oh, my God, no. I would. But like I said, I understand. That's not a comment on DeFango. That's a comment on why some weak-ass punk like freaking Shane Cashman won't write a hit piece like that on someone like myself. Because I would drive them into the ground. I would sue the shit out of them for what he wrote. It's not calling you an Isterophobe. It's trying to destroy you and make sure no one will ever. They try to not only destroy you, but fucking salt the ground so nothing reputational grows. So we've edited out the names of individuals and companies. So Cashman, I don't want to do to anyone else what I think everyone's doing to Eliza. So he makes it about Eliza right off the bat. And he's going to do this over and over again, which is unjustly targeting anyone. And if I'm wrong, I'd like to figure out how and why. Holy shit. Chavez. So I've been censored off Twitter, YouTube, and many other platforms unjustly because of my history. The PR company, this company, I whistle blew on. I'm the guy that put out all the information that you read about it, but I don't get any credit for it. Everybody just says that I was behind it. They say that this is something that I did, but it couldn't be farther from the truth. It's centered around a previous company that they wanted to start because what they were doing was using this operation to sow disinformation, chaos into the system to spread disinformation. They go and purposely feed disinformation to people. The issue here is that a lot of these people that have been connected to this have died, committed suicide. If you read about me being connected to suicides, it's because everybody talking about these people, they've died. And most of them died after I left, basically. All these people were like me in solving these puzzles because they would just horrendously stalk people through the internet. So essentially what's being said here is, you're saying that people get driven to suicide. It's people like him is what he's saying. He's like, yeah, that's people like me. That's what these folks do. And you made me this monster because Eliza Bleu. And it didn't even work into the Eliza Bleu thing. Like he said, it's a defunct PR company. So it doesn't even work into the conversation. It was just an easy way for misdirection. He thought it would stand. The problem is everybody around him, they told him, you're going to get fucking sued. You're going to get Tim sued for this. That's just the reality. I hate to say that gang stalking is even real or whatever, if I've ever experienced any kind of stalking, it probably that kind. I had a group of people part of a secret online organization, basically spending their entire day trying to effing destroy me online, whether it was Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. So you know what Eliza feels like she's having happen to her right now literally has happened to me for the last 5 years. I don't want to have her to have an issue. I was literally just pissed off one day that she blocked me when I was like trying to ask her questions. I was lightly trolling her because I was like, okay, like, can you just tell somebody something? Can you at least give us something in this situation? And I had seen that there were a lot of people online that had been saying stuff about this particular situation before me. I don't have a team. I'm a single guy. So you're not running an operation. I'm basically broke, right? There's your issue right here. So here's your issue. I'm broke. And they know that, again, there's a big difference in targeting somebody that can successfully crowdfund litigation and going after people that they figure they're smaller, they have less. Like, you could see it on Twitter, to be honest. All right. When Defengo would post about some of this stuff that was coming up, he would get 40 to 70 likes on something, right? If this would have happened to somebody with a much larger platform, it would have been like imagine they would have written that same piece on the quarter. Like, imagine how that would have played. But that's why they didn't. Now, they did their attack piece, but they made their piece publicly with that. But anyway, I put this thread out, and then I just decided that I wouldn't worry about it anymore. I feel like I had spoken my piece, and I was like, okay, if I was wrong, honestly, I wanted to be proven wrong. That's the whole point. I wanted to give Eliza what she needed. I didn't think people really picked up on it. Trust me, I didn't try to feed this to other people. I never meant for her to have this whole perpetual trauma machine going on. I know that it's been difficult, obviously. Yeah, you're giving a lot of grace to her there, man. You're giving a lot there. Again, why did this come up? Was it your thread? No. Your thread didn't do shit for that. Your thread came up in the aftermath. Talking about the experience that you had in that arena. Don't ever let people tell you that going in and putting together pieces and asking a question is fucking stalking somebody. That's the deception. That's the nastiness. That's the bullshit of it all. Little sausage, thanks for 5. Eliza Bleu, Timmy Poo, the gang stalker is going to sue you. Indeed. Cashman, I personally have no problem with people asking questions, and you can talk all the shit you want. Really? Huh. That's weird. So you can talk all the shit you want. You can ask questions. Huh. That's strange, right? People could say he's been affiliated with the company, and then hear him talk about how he's laughing and knowing people who killed themselves. Now you're putting it in a different light, where it's like you've blown the whistle off these people. There have been articles written about these tactics, not about him being involved in any tactics. You notice that, but these tactics. So he says, I'm not behind any type of smear campaign. I'm not a bot master. I can barely afford to pay my rent. I don't even like bots. Back in 2017, people were accusing me of this stuff. In reality, it was these other people that were allegedly using bots. They were buying bots on my channel, purchasing subscribers, purchasing Twitter followers. They were manipulating me. They targeted me because I had been solving these online puzzles, right? They targeted people like me, people that are on the spectrum, people that have, I guess, issues in society. I obviously have social issues. I'm kind of a loner. I don't really hang out with many people. They were buying subscribers on my YouTube channel. Now, this is not worded very well. This is a technique we've seen people get banned for, which you have people do. Now, this does not work now because there have been different, I guess, regulations to YouTube. But when I first started out, I would see people get banned for subscriber boosting. The question was, where did the subscribers come from? Are you buying subscribers? Maybe. But subscribers, artificial subscribers are going to your account. People would spend money to try to fucking bust your channel down. I mean, we see it all the time. We see all kinds of methods. So that is a legit method. It has. I've watched it. I've seen it play out before. You know, I saw it. I remember when this was, now my channel has set here for a long time, but my active time around 2017, I saw that happening because that's when I started going live, and I watched some of the people covering comics. Actually, they if you were not noticeable enough, it's a tactic where you can bury people. It's harder to bury people. The more profile you have, the more insulated you become from stupid tactics like that anyway, which is good. That's the one good thing about that. Again, you know, that's not, again, saying, "Ooh, big channels." It's just saying, you know, the more noticeable you are, the less you have to worry about people nailing you for shit when you were a smaller channel, because you can raise hell about it. So my thought was, this was an organic thing that was happening to me, but it's actually just manufactured to the point where I was having 2,000 subscribers to having 10,000. I thought I was a big success YouTuber. It only took me 6 months to figure out something strange was happening. I was getting the subscribers, but my views weren't going up. Reporters like Will Summer from the Daily Beast just went in. They just went with another narrative. The sad thing here is that I was a source for Will. I gave him the information first. Then he went and tried to fact check you, and you want everything else to fact check me, right? I literally had to get a restraining order for my former associates. They were getting physical with me, putting hands on me, trying to hurt me, basically telling me like, "Yo, if you effing try to leave, I'm going to destroy you. I'm going to tell people that it was all your idea." I literally had to get a restraining order from them. So Cashman says, "I'm not trying to be mean or fucked up, but what you're describing is kind of like the hostage type situation that Eliza was telling us about with her fucked up shit." So again, every question, notice that there. "Oh, this thing you're describing, it's kind of like when she said she was a hostage, right?" Wait, what? What? What the fuck, man? He's like, I actually do kind of agree with that. I think that it sounds kind of like that. It doesn't sound like that at all. Yeah. Oh, God. Man, I would I would love to see Shane Cashman get some adversarial blowback. Like I said, I understand why DeFango is nice about it. He probably wants the truth printed because litigation can't afford it. I mean, just in there. And a lot of people, I mean, people will say, "Hey, I'm going to back you." But the reality is, and they will back you at the beginning, but the reality is, like, when your cost is like 30 grand, yeah. But what happens when you come back and you're like, "Hey, I need $150,000?" What happens? Because Tim's going to have that money. Oh, he's going to have the money to fight. That is the reality of it. So I would like him to see, somebody that doesn't want just the truth out there. I would like somebody that would actually take him to task with all these stupid fucking questions. So Cashman said, again, Eliza, it's another question about Eliza. "When you saw the Daily Beast article about Eliza, it was written by Will Summer. Did it give you pause because of what he'd done to you previously?" "Yeah, actually," said, "I had noticed that he was poking around, following me on Twitter. They never reached out to me directly or anything, but Will had been pretty well known for following me around and picking up stories all over the years. I don't work with the Daily Beast at all." Yeah, I don't work with the Daily Beast either. And it acts like, again, the thing is, like, you don't have to trust Will Summer on what he said. You can find the friend of Eliza Bleu online. You can find her. She's out there. In fact, there have been some crazy reports about what has happened to her since she actually said something. But she's out there. I'm not encouraging you to contact her or anything, just to make that clear. I'm just saying she's right out there in plain view. You also, all of the other things that have come out, you don't even have to have the Daily Beast write that article. They don't have to write it at all. You know what would actually verify all of that stuff? Eliza Bleu's own words. But again, it's inconvenient truth. It's inconvenient with the narrative. And he'll make this clear in just a minute. He'll actually say something in here that does matter in just a moment. So Chavez, do you that was crazy. I was just sitting there, we were trying to research it and figure it out. Hey, did somebody actually own this? Oh, I'm sorry. There's the website. My bad. So there's been so much distortion surrounding the Eliza story. It seems nefarious that when you created Helen Troy website on your live stream. So again, let's see. Has there been a question that is not framed around Eliza? Let's see. That it doesn't have her name directly in it. So there's one. That is about running an op. So that is about it. Just doesn't have her name. So there's one that you could possibly say hasn't been about her, but the rest of them have actually been. This is a deflection piece. This is another fucking puck piece for Eliza Bleu. Holy shit. It's amazing. Again, that tells you that something's off. Let's ask you. I mean, you can see it there, though. So there's so much distortion around that. You thought that was crazy. I was just sitting there, we were trying to research it, to figure it out. Hey, did somebody actually own this thing? And then I saw that they had been on Wix.com and there had never been an actual website archive. I was like, hey, this is a great opportunity for me to try to sell my hosting company. Like, I just thought that, hey, this would be a perfect way of showing people that they could buy a domain and have something up online for 30 minutes. And then, it'd be like a funny gag, right? You mean like cloutgoblin.net? It seemed like someone creating more chaos and doing it in the open, I stand by the Eliza Bleu story. And I stand by the fact that there were coordinated campaigns that happened on the internet that are wicked. I like to take you at your word the same way I did with Eliza. That's not journalism. Listen and believe, kids. These are the people that any other time with stuff, they are supposedly the detractors of listen and believe. And yet I just took them at their word, man. That's not journalism, dude. No investigation, nothing. You again, they go with the idea that there's some insane conspiracy out there. There's a conspiracy trying to take this apart, pretending that it's not an organic thing. It was very organic. If you watched it from the beginning, people were outraged because Twitter banned people. The response to that, threatening litigation, made it louder. More bans came in, making it louder. And it just kept getting louder because of issues and issues and issues. It spanned time. And then they involved themselves. So again, this idea of a fucking organization doing this is so insane. Like, again, it goes just back to conspiracy, but now it's a nameless conspiracy because lesson learned. You can't claim somebody there. But I want to take you at your word. So I'd like to say to people, look, this is what he said, but it's maddening, to be honest. So it's maddening to take DeFango at his word. But it wasn't maddening to take Eliza at her word. That's weird too, isn't it? So there's a standard of not taking people at their word when there's certain people. That's weird too. No, I understand how maddening it can be. I've been on the computer since I was 7 years old. I really feel bad for how the Eliza thing came out. Like, I honestly felt like I would have put out my thread and then Eliza would have said like, all right, fuck you. You know what? Here's where you're wrong. I figure I was going to be helping more or less. Like, hey, here's the hard questions. Did anything from the story change your mind or make you see anything different? In some ways, I guess. Yeah, what way? You mean like part 3? So did I influence you? Did I influence you? I mean, what the fuck? Like, oh my God, man. Oh, I'm gonna tell you this. Like, I don't care if they write some more shit or she says some more shit. I'm not covering her tomorrow. You know why? Because I want a day off from it. Because it's infuriating. This fucking irritates me. It irritates me because this shit should be blasted from the walls everywhere. Because I mean, again, all the issues there are problems. This right here from platforms that are supposed to be against the very thing that they're doing. These are problems, and it's fucking infuriating. Oh, it is. It's very irritating. Rock and roll. Nor thanks for the 5. Tim, you're supposed to come. You're supposed to climb out of the hole, not dig deeper. I know, indeed. John, thanks for the 10. This story gained traction when Eliza Bleu inserted herself into the Tate situation. Heard today that there's a transcript out there where 2 main accusers are congratulating themselves on their acting. Indeed, there is. I'm going to cover that tomorrow. I'm going to see about covering that because there are people, again, I cannot say that it is a verifiable document. However, there are people out there with mass followings, that have investigated other things and done that decently well, I would say, from what I've seen there, that are saying, yes, they have independently verified that this thing is real. Now, if you don't know what that's talked about there are 2 of Andrew. Now, let me make this clear. I am not a fan of Andrew Tate. So for me to say this stuff, I hope this resonates with people. I think Andrew Tate is a manipulator of men and a manipulator of women, both. Having said that, it looks like from what is being showcased there, and again, I guess we will find out if there is ever a fucking charge that is levied against the man, if this stuff is legit. But there are 2 transcripts of discussions where it looks like two of the main accusers there have been communicating with one another about setting up a false narrative. Again, there have been, I cannot verify that because it is not sourcing. Again, you can't source it to an article or anything else. But I will show you the people that are claiming verification on it. Because at first, when it first came out, there were issues in it with timestamps and more. But that was explained as it depends on what program that you utilize to run something off. The timestamps and stuff. It kind of looked odd. But again, if you're transferring something from, say, Romanian or one time zone to another, I mean, you get all kinds of problems. I've seen that in messages from other cases. We've seen that just in U.S. cases where the timestamps make no sense whatsoever. It looks like every statement came out within the same second, and that wasn't a fake thing you find out. It's just in the way something has either been uploaded, archived, or whatever. Steph B, thanks for the 5 gifted memberships, by the way. Thank you. I do appreciate that sincerely. But like I said, I'll go over that. I don't mean to break that up in the middle of this, but I did find that fascinating because, like I said, you've got to have a stand. I will look at something and I will make my own determination on whether I think someone is guilty or innocent. Having said that, I'm not trying to advocate for taking down their lives or burning their shit down. Like, that's just me looking at a case and saying, what I see here when I look through this looks bad, and Tate's own words look bad for stuff. But the claims here, first of all, it's been an ongoing quote unquote investigation for months. And it's high profile. Typically, you may get that with, like in the US, you may get that with somebody that has a public defender or something, but people with money, you don't see this kind of stuff. I mean, it's kind of unreal. Now, again, I don't live in that country. That also has hindered it's not hindered the access to information. It's hindered the fact checking of information. There's a lot of information out there. Typically, I could fact check something to a relative degree of certainty. If something's coming up in the U.S. court circuits or there's information being investigated, I could tie it to, I know who this person's investigator is. We could find out to, again, a relative degree of certainty if something is real. But when you're dealing with something that you don't even know how that system plays, I mean, it makes things very difficult. That's an intriguing case. And again, I try to set aside, there's a difference in, again, manipulator and rapist. There are specific allegations without charges, without actual charges yet, and people have already decided guilt or innocence. Now, again, if people are going to take him to task on his own words with other things where he's talked about manipulation and stuff, that's a different thing. But it's so hard for some people to understand, like having despite. Man, I hate all of Hollywood mostly, so when I talk about cases, for me to even come to a conclusion, just I have to set aside a lot just to look at a case because fame is poison and many, many people in Hollywood are poison. So anyway, getting back to this though, and that does work in because it was a strange thing. Not the distancing necessarily from tape. I get that. I very much do. You have brands that are like, yo, I don't want to touch that. I don't want to be part of that. But the other side of it, the embracing of accuser because of just, I believe all survivors is what they say. It was a listen and believe statement. But then you find, well, maybe that makes more sense because many of the people that are behind a lot of this, they aren't listening believers. Again, no actual investigation into anything. It's just you embrace the narrative presented, and that is a poison. The weaponization of Me Too is one of the biggest social blights that we have seen. And if you disagree, I think it's a bigger blight than many of the, when people bring up, oh man, well, we've got to cover these issues that are more important, like, whatever's going on in politics or this or that. I'm like, these things destroy people just like that. Better than anything. It is the best weapon for someone to wield if there is a false allegation. It is also something that it does a disservice to survivors out there. It makes people distrust, makes people hate. It sets us back, and it sets us back not years, but decades. So there are a lot of things in that. And it's just, you can look at a situation, like I said, you can talk about accusations, you can talk about the culture, but there has to be a standard. Anyway, fuck. It annoys me. It very much annoys me. But let's see. In some ways, I guess, he said, is it changed your mind? Did I change your mind? I guess she told you some names, and you said that you looked it up, right? And it seems like it might have been there. Seems like it might be true. I mean, for the young stuff, it doesn't really change my mind, but can I argue with it? No, I can't because I wasn't there. And I honestly don't know. So I have to concede on that way because literally she doesn't have any evidence that she can give besides a name. And if there's actually a legal case associated with that, I do understand why she wouldn't be able to talk about it. But it's the later on stuff. I was very clear that in the 2012 to 2016, maybe one of the eras when I thought that, like definitely some type of trafficking happening because her story matched the story that I've heard from other girls actually that were strippers that all of a sudden got hit up by a pimp. And before they knew it, they were a stripper and then an escort and then basically some kind of straight up prostitute. And like that sounds like what's more of her story. So that's not her story though. Jeez. Like I said, I'm being careful in the way I look at this because again, DeFango wanted to at least get something out there. He didn't want a secondary headpiece. And I don't think he thought he could. Again, I'm just saying this. This is the way I view the situation. He can clarify it however he wants. I don't think he thinks he can fund a lawsuit. I don't think he does. He says it over and over again. I can barely afford my rent. Like, so if you're staring down a $100,000 bill, when you can't pay $500, how do you pay $50,000? So I'm trying not to be very Shane Cashman, man, dishonest fuck though. After talking to her family and her, I feel good about her story. But then again, I'm saying the story, I can't prove anything either. Yeah. So it's like up to everyone else to be like, this is what I believe. I also don't. Wait, that's not what you said, asshole. Yeah. I can't prove everything, so it's up to everyone else. That's not what you said at all. You're like, yo, I believe her, and you made shit fit. You know. I also don't like the mob mentality. Yeah, so if a bunch of people come together and they're like, yo, these lies, look at how big they are, you're just a fucking mob. Well, I remember that the next time they cover a story, because again, you know, they're talking to a potential 1.3 million people. Isn't that by definition a hate mob then? Isn't that an op? I mean, you know, if you want to go with that, every time you fucking speak, oh man, you get a few people together, they start talking about something, or you start looking in the rabbit hole. But the hate mob, one can just condemn someone without explicit fact. What do you need for fact, jackass? I mean, what do you need? You got their own fucking words. Oh, I turned down $150,000 while I was a drug addict, and also, you know, while I was being trafficked. Well, what do you need? Fucking hell, man. So, Chavez, how these things spin out of control is actually wild to watch. You know, I've been tracking disinformation conspiracy theories online. Like, that's what my digital channel was really about. I would always try to debunk flat earth or whatever crazy conspiracy came up, no matter what detriment it could have been. I was going against the grain with what everyone else was saying. I went out and I said it. With this Eliza thing, I didn't have any expectations for this other than me shouting into the wind, right? I didn't expect it to get so toxic so quickly. But I understand how YouTubers are, right? That's what people don't understand, is like they're like junkies. Again. Oh, man. You're walking that Shane Cashman line, man. It's going to fuck you over like that. This is the problem, man. Placating. That's placating, Shane, right there. Unless that's really what you believe. If you truly believe, oh man, toxic YouTubers, that was the whole thing that got them in trouble. Like I said, you got to walk that line, brother. You got to walk that line. Placating Shane Cashman is, again, I would suit his ass into the ground. I'd have sued him because he wanted to fuck my life up. Anyway. Psychological operations. So when I watched this stuff build the way it did, obviously, I was like, oh, there could be some kind of operation running there. I do know that there is the air of scariness that follows me around because of my history. When the article said I'm a Fed, like, you're technically, I guess, right in every way, because I've actually volunteered for government. I have government contracts, but you know, I'm an IT guy. Cashman, it seems like you can't trust anybody, especially on the internet. Who knows? You could be talking to a robot. You could be a robot talking to me right now. I'm not a robot. I'm just in a tiny apartment. Do you have any advice for people when they might see these crazy disinformation campaigns here? A lot of people might not recognize it. You want to know. You want people to be able to recognize these things. My advice for recognizing these things, different information campaigns, is simple. If it goes in line with something you've already been thinking and you're getting some kind of feeling out of it, you should do your own due diligence and double research it, because it's my experience in these disinformation campaigns that they're meant to target something that you yourself have already been looking into or already have a feeling on. If you want something to be true, you should take more time with that particular thing, especially if somebody feeds you a piece of information that just automatically hits your confirmation bias. People have been doing that for years, whether it's been flat earth or satanic abuse or ritual abuse, my bad. Cashman, do you think there's a goal? Do you think there's a goal for this? Like, is it just chaos? Is it gain power over people? Again, it's part of the op, bro. It's part of the op, bro. For the people that I interacted with, it feels like we're having two conversations here. We're having DeFanco try to explain, like, this is what I've seen in my past, and we're having Shane say, yeah, Eliza. Yeah, Eliza. for the people that I interacted with, it always seemed to boil down to money. It's always been about that for them. It's a confidence game for criminals who like to sow chaos and manipulate people because they have no morals. They just simply want chaos. They play both sides of the all the time. I'm not a psychopath, not even a criminal. I just, for some reason, have run into many a criminal over my lifetime trying to understand how people operate. I mean, whether it's like huge drug dealers that are in federal prison now, or just random people that became connected to me through like piracy thing, right? I don't understand why they do have these things. It's like with the Eliza Bleu thing. I definitely didn't want it to end up like this. I would much rather, have been able to talk to her. If I were able to give her a message today, obviously I would say, look, I'm definitely sorry that kind of rolled out the way it did. I take responsibility for what I've done, what I've said. And if I've been wrong, I apologize. Never fucking apologize, man. Never do this. Never say if I did, because that is taken as a admission of guilt. That is a classic thing. Classic. Never apologize in this matter. Either you did something wrong or you didn't. It's kind of like think about this shit like police interrogation tactics, on the internet. We've seen it. Used to in PR. Old PR would state that you give an apology like a blanket statement. I mean, I've seen people do PR many times. And in the past, apologizing for if you thought that I did something to you, well, I apologize for that. You have to, like I said, that is taking it as an admission of guilt, and it will be weaponized. Now you will be the gang stalker. They will use that. They will weaponize it. It is social currency for them. So, when you put something like out there, you never fucking apologize unless you know that you have done something wrong. You never apologize for other people. You're responsible for your actions, and you never apologize for the way that someone interprets your actions. Again, I could take many a thing that happens online, especially people that are fucking ego fucking narcissists, people that want deflection, man. They make anything about themselves anyway. And then when they get blowback that is centered on themselves, yeah, never. Again, this is not apology. I take responsibility, and if I've done wrong, I apologize. So if I did it, no, either you did wrong or you didn't do wrong. And if you did wrong, then that's there, but never fucking apologize for the if, because I mean, I've seen that weaponized. Again, I see that used. Vic Mignogna did that thing. He did that in 2019. He thought that would be good PR damage control. He thought that was the perfect way to go. And when he did that, it was weaponized against him from then on. It was weaponized as an admission of guilt. In fact, sometimes stuff like that can be used against you in a court or anything else. That can actually be used against you, because, yeah, well, you said you apologized for this. You did this or that. And remember, when you're looking at this kind of stuff, Eliza promised litigation. So maybe somebody decides, hey, you're talking about people that have fucking stalked you more. Maybe those people decide, hey, they want to fund that person to go after you. Again, you have to look at this shit like it's a 8D chess, fuck a 4D chess. You have to be 10 steps ahead of people. You have to think long term. You have to think about how you look at this thing like it's like imagine imagine I don't know, skinny dipping with piranha, with fucking, I don't know, with chicken legs all around you. They're like, yummy. You're like, no, nay, 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 baby, nay, nay, nay. Unlike all these other people on the internet that are just making video after video after video collecting cash. That was never my intention to have her harassed in oblivion, right? That's not what I wanted. I just wanted some simple answers. This thing kind of spiraled out of control in the way that I can't control. And it's not the first time something like this has happened. But I'm saying that I'm hoping it'll be the last. So again, Shane made him a puff piece. He never fucking apologized for anything. And in fact, at the end of the day, like these people. Ah, shit. Anyway, like I said, I get why somebody would do that. Man, to operate in internet spaces, you have to be fucking stone. You have to be stone. Like for real. You have to have the courage of your conviction, and you have to be fucking stone. Like you can't fear, you can't do anything, because it will be manipulated, and it'll still be used to do damage. Like the next time that you come across something that you know is wrong, this will be used against you. The next time, in this time, it will be. No matter your intention and what you're saying there, it will be taken like that. But it became another fucking puff piece. Like I said, I would have fucking burned him down. And again, I'm saying that with the utmost. I understand why or what. But I think to operate in internet spaces, I don't care if you have 9 subscribers or 900,000, you have to have the same mindset. You got to be fucking stoned. Especially, maybe you can cover fucking Legos or something on internet. Even that, I mean, I see how Minecraft fucking creators actually get treated. So maybe not even that kind of stuff. I don't know. But running in these type of things, talking about litigation, talking about talking about a culture that is, again, you're in these discussions, whether or not you intend to do this, you threaten the very thing that someone has built their reputational foundation on. You're threatening 2 things with talking about Eliza Bleu, for example. You threaten the idea that, number 1, they are that word that they attach to themselves, survivor. And number 2, you've threatened that other thing that they put on themselves as a free speech absolutist. So those 2 things, you have threatened them just by having this conversation. You're, whether you intend to do that or not, by talking about the truth of a matter, by talking about what's found down the rabbit hole when you're fishing out information, that's what happens. Now, it is a scary thing to stand alone too. When man, I've been there worried about that before. Just being frank about it. I've been there. I've thought, but I've been like, fuck it. Caution to the wind, fuck it. Let the chips fall where they may. And it has a cost, man. It has a mental cost until you get to the point where you are just stoned. Like I said, nothing fucking phases me anymore. Nothing. I can operate in these spaces very well because I've been here a while. I don't mean that to be like, oh, pat myself on the back. I'm just saying at the time I get it. It has a mental cost. It has a fucking a physical, as in the physical space cost. Like it may cost you a job. People will target everyone around you. Again, they will do everything to destroy you because you're talking about something. The one thing that people like that can't abide, and that's the truth. They cannot abide the truth. Especially, like I said, I feel like I've been confronted by a giant. I have seen disinformation campaigns before, though. Like I said, the last case is a very glaring example of that. I mean, you see the PR money that was poured into that. I mean, you know that a case itself cost $12 million to put on. $12 million. Now, if there are stakes that high, you're not talking about reputational stakes in that. You're talking about stakes where, like a Warner Brothers, they have billions on the line. Yeah, you see it. But you also see some kind of weird campaign when the other thing happens, when the silence comes. It's not when something gets big enough, especially like if, like with this issue, it was connected to Twitter, new Twitter with Elon Musk. And you had a handful of places that covered it, a handful of independent journalists that decided that they would go out, that they would talk about that. You had a couple of places like, say, the Daily Beast. I think they were the biggest one that actually sounded off on that. But as far as, again, these are places that would cover Elon Musk sneezing, pro and con, But the people that would typically defend, they went silent because I personally believe that they knew that it was damaging. They knew that talking about that carried damage for them. And on the other side of that, they want to buy challenging any of this stuff. But anyway. That's so crazy, though. I wanted to talk about the, I don't think there's enough time to do this, but I wanted to talk about, I'm going to introduce this for tomorrow. I did a video on this, but I think actually there's two things that I really have been looking into covering. There's one thing that I've been researching a little bit more. I mentioned it at the beginning, and that is Gonzalez versus Google. Like this is actually set up for the Ninth Circuit. There's a hearing on the issue whether Section 230C of the Communications Decency Act immunizes interactive computer services when they make targeted recommendations of information based on a recommendation of information provided by another information content provider. So again, it's a challenge to Section 230. Now, that may not sound like a big deal, but if Section 230 falls, that is the immunity, the blanket immunity for platforms, not to be sued to hell for every single thing that they do. And if Section 230 ever falls, man, it will change the internet overnight. It won't just, that is not hyperbole. That is reality. It will resculpt the internet landscape overnight. That is a huge type of discussion there, because again, and that's become an issue. That's what places like Twitter have used as a way, or YouTube have used to censor people and more. They've done the very things they're not supposed to do when it comes to their Section 230 protections. But the other one too, I did a video on today. And again, I think I'll go over this more in depth. Maybe tomorrow, we'll see what happens, is the Onision lawsuit. Now, the Onision lawsuit, I know a lot of people may not know who Onision is. I'm sure most of you have, like, if you've seen the internet much, or you've seen like Tosh 0.0, he had a guy on there that did the banana song. I'm a banana. It's such an annoying song. Makes me want to eat you. It makes me want to eat glass. I swear. It's terrible. It's terrible to listen to. But that guy has had some rather sordid allegations about him. He's had them to the point that he had a discovery profile. They did a piece about him, which I thought was fascinating. It got to that level. You had in 2020, you had Chris Hansen involved. It was crazy. It was crazy to look at. There was a police interaction with it. It looked like he might actually have some real police issues for a hot minute. And at that time, YouTube decided to act. The thing was, and this lawsuit notes, that all of this stuff started happening around 2015. That's their allegations. So it took 6 years and a lot of noise for platforms to look into it. And the one thing that this has that a lot of other things don't have, and I noted this in my video as well, is it has screenshots. Here we go. So you can see, like, the allegations were that they had minors that they were trying to be involved with. And well, it's undeniable when you're making public statements about your relationships with people. When you're putting publicly out statements about how, like, this 17-year-old that you've been talking to for 3 years now, Now you're talking, about explicit photographs, nudes. You're talking about getting the good goods and more. Yeah. So this lawsuit, it is aimed at Onision's wife at the time. I think I might have called her girlfriend. I couldn't remember, but Onision's wife at the time. And also at Google and YouTube. The lawsuit is, when you look at it, it's over $1 million requested in it. Again, don't know where this will go, but I'm surprised that this has not happened before now. With the amount of noise that came up, I'm surprised this didn't happen in 2021. I'm surprised it didn't happen back then. But now you see litigation, and this lawsuit by itself, they do allege a very fascinating thing in here. They say, as far as YouTube is concerned, YouTube did see a problem after a time and demonetized Onision, but they only took him out of the YouTube partner program. They didn't take him off the platform. So YouTube, by their actions, they still profit off of what this person is doing. They're not sharing the profits. And I thought that was a fascinating portion, of that, because they're saying, not only did they flagrantly ignore what happened, but after they acted on it, they decided still to maintain their portion of the profits or their portion of the proceeds. They just didn't share it with them anymore. Well, that's kind of interesting. So anyway, this is a fascinating filing. And again, everyone gets their due process. I personally think that, some of the stuff, like I said, it is hard to argue with someone's own. It's just like Shia LaBeouf or somebody. When you're coming out in your own words, it's really hard to argue your own screenshots, your own items that are in there. And the conversations with these folks, you don't just have the, like this, when that relationship's going on, you have the initial conversations, they are going all the way back to 2012, when this person was 14 years old. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, this, I think, is it, depending on if it gets to, depending on where it goes, I think this is the end for Onision. Like, this would be the financial end for sure. This would, over his career, he probably made decent money. I don't know how much of that he actually set aside. I'm not sure, but I'm sure he made money. And with this coming up, it's going to be something to see. So we'll go over that. Like I said, it's a lot more important. People think that shit like this is internet drama. It is the same thing that you talk about, only there's this new, just think about it this way. Like right now, a platform like myself, I have access to almost 400,000 people doing good. Yeah, that's great. But people don't always do good. Some people have taken their platforms and done very bad things with them. I mean, very bad things. That's why I don't even want to have conversations with people, though. I mean, there's the level of false allegation there that plagues YouTubers too. That's why, like I said, if like you write me and I'm very succinct and to the point when I respond, that's nothing against you. I like many of you, and I like many of you personally, but I make it a rule. I make it a rule not to, I have a handful of people that I talk to online, and that's it. I also know that if any kind of strange allegation ever came out about me, having inappropriate conversations with somebody, I have a rule not to have any type of conversation like that at all. I'm happily married. I don't do that anyway, but it's also a rule. I wouldn't, even if I were single, I would not fucking do that on the internet. It is the bane of people, people thinking that they have consensual discussions and consensual relationships, only to watch it be the thing that destroys you. You know. Anyway, let me saw a couple of super chats. What's up? 2012. Thanks for the 2. In 20, 21 courts were shut down. That's why. I'm surprised though. Even with the beer bug making it challenging, I'm still surprised nobody took that first step and started filing. Striking while the proverbial iron was hot. Because if this would have fallen right before or after everything that was coming up, I mean, this would have been, again, it is a bomb that went off. There was 5 times the eyes on the conversation then. Now Onision is he's nobody online. I mean, that's the thing. A lot of people have no idea who he is anymore. They don't. I don't know. I would have done a breakdown of Onision, explaining exactly who he was. Only the amount of lore rather that he has is crazy. But if you look up his YouTube, I mean, typically he doesn't get any traffic whatsoever. I mean, he went from this is how irrelevant that became. And a lot of it, I mean, some of it's time, but some of it's just, I mean, he went from the Banana Song, 92 million hits on that thing. That is the most annoying thing I've ever listened to as well. But he went from those kind of numbers too. He's scrubbed most stuff. Like he couldn't show you because he was only getting like 3,000 or 4,000 hits on most things. And now he put out something up. He's gonna talk again. He's gonna dig his heels in as far as litigation is concerned, and he may well win. You never know. But I mean, if he loses, this is the thing that undoes him. What's up, 2012? Thanks for the 2. This case and the yesterday are big cases. Yeah, there are a lot of big cases that are around. There are a lot of them that I think people haven't noticed. That's thanks for the 2. DeFango could go to the Young Turks. Yeah, they would actually probably hear his side of things for sure. I mean, like I said, I feel bad for DeFango in that situation. He's still at a disadvantage when he talks to Shane Cashman because Shane Cashman has a blank check behind him. I mean, if he follows through with litigation, he's going to be facing a blank check. They're going to fight, and they have the resources to do that. They very well do. So, I mean, I get it, and that puts you at a disadvantage in discussion. But when they use that to their advantage, again, now they have the way that they'd like to tie up the articles. They have, oh man, well, here's the decrying and the apology. Even if it's if I did something wrong, then they're going to be like, no, that's an admission of. Therefore, bookend to bookend, baby, because they said, the mastermind behind all of this stuff, DeFango, that guy, that mastermind there. Well, look at what he said about it. 2012. Thanks for the 2. There is a yesterday and Tim Pool connection. I'll have to look into all of that. I'm not really, putting it together there. Not really. That blank check dries up quickly when you start adding bosses and producers to a lawsuit. Yeah, it's its own content, though. I mean, it's a content machine, too. I know that person, that could be its own problem, but yeah, that's one of the things, I always think, man, I'd love to have like a thumbnail producer and stuff, but my God, I don't know. Maybe that drives towards ego too. I did pay somebody to make some thumbnails for when I was ill. You can tell when they're not my thumbnails because mine are like they're not the best thumbnails ever. They have their own style. They're definitely mine. You can tell when mine are out there, and you could tell when they weren't. Matt, thanks for the 2. I meant the lawsuit funding. Oh yeah, bottomless funding, indeed. But he could also he could go to that for a story. Just to be honest, I imagine that they would put just to stick it in. You know, I imagine that they would give your own voice. It is crazy though. I mean, when you if you're attacked in specific spheres, like if you're attacked in mainstream liberal media, most of them circle the wagon. If you're attacked in conservative media, I'm talking about the large corporate items, they're going to circle the wagon because many of them are owned by the same people or they're connected to each other. So it's crazy. Again, you see how difficult it is. We see it over and over again about getting truth out. That's why it is important, I think, that if you find things that you actually think want to serve that end, you support them. You know, I know many good content creators that try to go to that level. But anyway, all right. Well, I'm gonna end here. I appreciate y'all. That was a good live stream. I had fun with it. Again, I'm happy with I'm happy with what we get and produce. Again, the video numbers, who knows what they'll do, but live streams, they continue. Got to reset the entire channel. Again, every time I cover a case, I have to do the same thing. It's so weird. It's like starting from scratch, It's not really starting from scratch, but you know what I mean. It's like I gotta start looking. And I like that. I actually burn out on cases after it took me a long time. I still am curious about the Amber Heard insurance case, which is ongoing, and there are a few pieces of that. Like I said, there are a few things that, again, I thought it was interesting that Dr. Muffins got bullied offline. I mean, she was bullied the fuck offline. I need to make a video on that. I need to get screenshots together. But, aside from that, there's many cases going on. And the one that I really want to cover is the Courtney Clenny one. That case is fascinating. I did a video. In fact, I may drop it tomorrow. I did it. It took YouTube 5 weeks to approve it. 5 fucking weeks. I had to get my MCN involved and everything and just push them to get it. But finally, I got them to look at it and approve it. But it was about her interrogation. I mean, she went like in her interrogation, in the police interrogation, she kind of went mask off for a hot minute. So I thought that would be good, but I want to cover that case. That's not one that will have like tons of documentation beforehand because that will be a criminal matter, but it has every element of what we talk about. False allegations. I mean, there's a good video. A last thing to note on this, and we need to talk about that case too, but a last thing on that, there's a good video. If you don't know the Courtney Clenny case, there's a YouTube channel. Give me 1 second. I watched it the other day and I marked it today. Just give me a second. It's from Coffee House Crime. It's called The Only Fan Model That Became a Killer, the case of Courtney Clenny. That is a very in-depth video. It does a good job of hitting a lot of high points. Now you got to remember her interrogation is 4 hours long. So that's a lot to go through. But they put it in about 45 minutes and they go through the high points of everything. So you should check it out too. But anyway, all right. I'm in it here. We'll talk about something else tomorrow. I fucking, unless Eliza Bleu goes and masterminds blowing up the world tomorrow, I don't care what she does. I'm going to give me at least a day because I don't want to talk about her for a day. Fucking mess, man. Oh, anyway, thanks.